I mean, it sounds like you've kind of hit the nail on the head in a way with what you're doing, and it seems like you're balancing it all out very well. But for the listeners and the viewers, how would you advise that people identify their why? Like, how would somebody know that they're on the right path?
I would say one of the best ways is to, see what energizes you, see if you have any sort of hobby or idea, whether it be product based or service based, what do you get excited about? And what that is there any sort of unique selling proposition within that that'll make your product or service stick out, amongst the competition? Or how can you fine tune it that it could be? But once you sort of hone in on, what energizes you, what feels right, and it just feels natural, that's when you know that you're on the right path. And that kind of goes back to the foundation of, writing down those 4 questions. What do I want? What don't I want? How do I want to feel? How don't I want to feel? Write down, manifest, vision, do vision boards, be very specific, and just, try to listen to your inner guidance. Like for me, I've just always had this like burning desire and this like, it's so hard to explain. And I don't know maybe if you can relate to that or not, feel in.
It's nice to hear that you're kind of living your why in a way, and that you're so passionate about what you do, and you're able to express that. I think that that's one thing that I've experienced over the last year, or a year and a half with projection is not hitting burnout. I mean, obviously, I get tired. There are incredibly long days. There are
Mhm.
long nights, and I think that really identifying the impact that you want to create with your life, or what is it, what sort of experience you want to generate for others, being true to the thing that drives you the most. I have a strong passion for leather crafting. I thought about it recently. If I had to pack up everything and do one thing, I think I would just open a leather crafting shop. And understanding what it is for me, I know why I'm sort of enriched when I do leather crafting, or when I'm working with leather, and I want other people to have that same experience. And I think it's the same for me with coaching and consulting. I've been in a situation where I've struggled. I had no idea where to start with a business, time and time and time again. And then you learn a little more, and then it doesn't work out. And then you learn a little more, and then that one doesn't work out. And going through that iteration over and over, and being able to pull people out of that chaos and show them that, in production, that chaos is an opportunity for you to, kind of assess what's happening, and pick out the positive validators versus the negative validators, the positive feedback versus the negative feedback, and really, use that feedback in a specific way to keep you on that path and to continue to validate you. And so I think for me, what I would advise anyone starting a business, or anyone who has a startup or a small business, and a way to assess if you're on the right path isn't so much regarding, obviously there's a monetary aspect. How is the business performing? Sales, services, your team members, what does success look like from a metric standpoint? But again, you brought it up earlier, there's no sort of scary Sundays, right? There's no case of the Mondays. I'm yet to have that at projection, and I hope hopefully never will. It's quite the opposite. On Friday, I'm already excited for Monday. I'm like, I cannot wait for next Monday's meetings based off of what happened on Monday and Tuesday. Like, there's all of these things we're going to implement that are going to be really, really rewarding. And I think that that's it, right? It's what jazzes you up, because at the end of the day, it's not that you're working for a company and then so that you can have a life. That job is your life, however way you look at it. If you're commuting to work and then sitting in an office for 8 hours, that's 10 hours of your waking day that you're spending. I mean, that is your life at the end of the day. And so, for me, assessing that, whether you're working inside of a company for someone else, or if you're starting a company, or if you're trying to start something on your own, and you're trying to assess, am I on the right path? And is this, something that I should continue to pursue? I've often reflected that, I would continue to do what I'm doing regardless if it ever works out. And I know that I will always coach, I will always consult, because I want to help people with what they're doing. And I want to continue to express the impact. And like, one of the aspects of projection is that we work with non-for-profits, because I want to be able to support that non-for-profit and being able to scale its impact in whatever sort of modality that might be. What do you think is one thing that has kept you on this path over the last couple of years. How do you stay on that path? What are the things that have kept you on the path?
I think just knowing that intuitively, I just feel like I have more greatness ahead of me. I feel like although I've had quite a bit of success, as an event business entrepreneur, I think within business development, my content creation and everything eventually sort of cultivating and coming together, I still feel like I'm just getting started and there's just a lot more greatness and bigger things ahead of me. And I think that's what my drive truly is. And one thing I do want to actually touch on, just piggybacking on what you were just saying, is as great as it is to, have like your path and your, business idea and whatever it is that you want to get started, also be realistic and know what your limitations are. I mean, obviously, I've been talking about how I've done a lot of this on my own, but of course, when I was executing events, I had a sous chef, I had bussers, I had servers, I had bartenders. I mean, there was a whole team of people assisting me and supporting me. And, I wasn't a bartender. I mean, I was when I was younger, but like in the sense of, let's say if you're launching a product and, you're great at ideation, but you're not great at graphics, get a graphics guy, get somebody that's specialized in that skill set that you're not specialized in, because the last thing you want to ever do is try to take it all on by yourself. And then you're great at one thing, but not great at another thing. And then overall, your thing is only mediocre because you didn't subspecialize and outsource where you needed to.
That's interesting. So, you're saying what has kept you on your path is actually been building a team through these different iterations and phases of your business and being able to hand off certain aspects. One thing that you noted that I think is really fascinating that we should hit on is that you noted that you feel like you can continue to pursue this because there are greater and bigger things for you to pursue. I can relate. One thing that I share with business owners and entrepreneurs when they launch their business is I congratulate them, number one, for doing so. And I get really excited because I know, having been on the journey that I've been on, when a buddy of mine launches an Airbnb business or when they launch their first ecom business, or, in some situations where they invest in their first property, I like to put in perspective and share that what's the most exciting is that this is just your first one. This is your first sale. This is your first event. This is your first side hustle. This is your first investment property. This is your first, whatever that might be. Because having been on that journey, and that's one thing that drives me, and I think that you can relate to that, is, when you're going down the path, everything seems new because it is new. It's all compounding, and you're not like, oh my God, here we go. Here's another event to do, or here we go. Here's another meeting to do. It's like this meeting is going to unlock the next round of opportunities. This event is going to lead to these other events. If you're really approaching your business and your skill set from a growth mindset, I think that might be kind of the overarching theme is looking at what you're doing as a modality for growth, for personal growth, for business growth, for relationship growth, for community growth.